Hi, everybody. I want to take just a few minutes sitting out here on my back porch this evening before it gets cold again here in North Carolina. We've been having a few chilly nights, but I wanted to really just take a minute and explain something for you guys. Those of you who follow us know that I do teachings every week on our YouTube stream, and then our church meets once a month out at a place called Haven Farm, a beautiful place here in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. And actually, we'll be there next Sunday at 2 p.m. So you're all invited. If you're in the area, I really want you to come because I've got something special that it's going to be interactive next Sunday. And so I hope my chimes aren't too much on this, but I love our chimes. Those are, we're going to do a little plug. Those are whole tone chimes. Those chimes are in whole tones. But I wanted to share something with you because yesterday's YouTube broadcast, it was entitled Memory Stones. It had to do with really a lot of things, but it was most of what I was sharing has so many prophetic overtones and has just God's signature all over it. And it was stirred by a weekend that I had. So you can go watch the video. It's called Memory Stones. This is the first in several that I'm going to do. But as I was sharing that, a lot of those memories came to me on this weekend as I was doing a men's conference and was sharing about that topic in Joshua 4. And something happened at the end of that video. Now, today's date is March 13th. There's some crazy stuff happening in the world, and some things that are happening here in America with the banks and so many things. I'm not going to give a lot of time to that, but there's some prophetic significance to everything. And God never wastes a moment. He never wastes a moment. Everything has a meaning, and you need to know that. And those of you who want to really climb down into the prophetic with me, you're welcome to come along, and I can teach you more about that as we go. But I wanted you to know the prophetic significance of the story that I shared right at the end of our broadcast yesterday. And if you noticed, our broadcast was cut short. There was a reason behind that. There was a physical reason, but there was a spiritual reason. And for those of you that were watching the content, you knew that I was talking about a particular situation that had happened back in 1999, which was a memory stone for me. And I shared about that on a men's meeting, and it happened in Greenville, South Carolina, and I was talking about that. Well, there was a gentleman from Greenville in this meeting, and he came to me afterwards, and we started talking about that. And he said, I watched that broadcast. And in that broadcast, God gave me a word that literally shifted things from the natural to the supernatural. Because you have to understand this, and I learned this from Dr. Marcirillo years ago. All revelation, all truth is parallel. And there are things, when you see things happening in the earth, you need to know that there is, it's almost like Newton's law. It's almost like with every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. In the spirit, there's a law that when you see that there's something happening in the earth, all those things that are happening, there's a parallel thing happening in the spirit. And those of us who are in the spirit can see those things, can hear those things. That's why you have to walk in the spirit, you see. And so for what I was sharing, it was important to understand that when I was sharing those things about that station, and I was talking to that area, the South Carolina, North Carolina area where they broadcast. It was a fairly large station. That there was fear of things collapsing. and on December 31st, 1999, because of something that was supposedly coming, because the computers couldn't handle the 00 of the new millennium, yada yada. All those things were breeding so much fear. People were doing all kinds of crazy things. And I'm saying this because it needs to be said here today. So don't go making runs on banks and do these things. Your trust is not in that bank. And if that's where your trust is, then we need to pray for you. We need to help you. Yes, we need to be wise. And so God's going to give us some wise directives. And he's already been giving us some wise directives. I've got some help for you. If you'd like some help in that area, certainly reach out to me. We've got some wonderful people in our world who know this thing. And we're actually working on, and we've got it done, but we've got some avenues for some people. If you'd like to get into some other avenues where you're not so at much risk, well, sure, we'll talk to you about that. But I'm not trying to sell you anything here today. I'm trying to tell you something today. I'm trying to tell you that God is up to something. And the message that I preached in that day in 1999 was Ctrl-Alt-Delete. And that is, of course, a computer term, but it means something. It means that there's a time when you have to reset. And I was talking and I was preaching that in that station. And as I was preaching, and again, this was the day before the lights were going to go out, if you please. While I was preaching, the lights went out. The power went out in that television station, and everything started to reset. And it was all on live broadcast. And when those things started to reset, my message, I didn't have to preach anymore. See, these are the times. I'm not going to take much time here, but these are the days that God is going to show up. These are the days, preacher, that you're going to see God preach for you. He's going to show up if you'll show up. If you'll be faithful, God will show up. And what happened on that night is that when that power went out, that's what I was talking about, Ctrl-Alt-Delete. I was talking about the reset, the great reset. And guess what? It happened. Well, the floor was God's then. Up until that point, the floor was mine. But then it was God's floor, and God took over. And I said this, it's time for us to repent. It's time for us to stop doing just everything that we want to do. It's time for us to do what God wants us to do. And this is the prayer I prayed, and I had everybody pray it. I said, I don't know if you're a preacher, I don't know who's watching me, and I don't even know who's watching me right now. But I'm going to say it again. You need to pray this prayer. And this is the prayer you should be praying. God, whatever I'm doing right now, whatever I'm spending all of my time and effort and energy and life on, whether it's ministry, whatever I'm doing that you never called me or you never told me to do, I'm going to ask you to dry it up. I want to ask you to close it down. I want to ask you to make room for what you want me to do. And that's what we prayed. And that's where I was ending that story. And what happened is that all that week, we kept going on that station. They had me there for 2 weeks. We had a major move of God back in 2000, January 1st, all the way through the 14th, I believe it was, or 15th. And God moved, and people came, and people got on the floor and repented. We had preachers, we had pastors resigning churches, y'all. I mean, I was going, God, I was like Elijah. I was saying, God, are you sure? I was like going, God, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. These guys are losing their jobs, but God said, this is what I wanted. Because you see, until a shift happens in the spirit, there's nothing moving in your life. You're just still moving everything. You're the ones you're pushing everything. And God is ready to start pushing things. And right now, these are groundswells that are happening in the earth right now. These are things that are happening in the earth, and they're markers for what God is about to do. And we believe that the ecclesia truly is being birthed. The man-child is being birthed in the earth. And it's time for us to let go of things that we're so trying hard to do that God never told us to do. So there you have it. That's how the end was to my message. But the prophetic gesture was this. When I said that, I was getting ready to close my message. I had about 5 more minutes left, and I was going to share some of this. And that's what I shared. Whatever you're doing in the earth that you never told me to do, shut it down. And then I talked about that story. Of course, I was talking about that story. Ctrl-Alt-Delete. And then I said something. I feel something right now. And when I said that, it stopped. And what actually happened was the hard drive on the computer I use to record, it never gives me any problem. That hard drive restarted. I'm getting nervous here. I'm not good at this. That hard drive restarted 3 times during that message. It stopped and reset itself 3 times. So there you have it. So listen, I'm going to invite all of you in the local area. Come on out next Sunday to the Stone at 2 p.m. I need to share something with you, and I need you to share something with us. I want you to come and bring your memory stones next Sunday. We're going to talk about memory stones, and we want to hear your memory stone, because God's going to move when you share your memories. I love you. Have a great rest of your day. All right, bye-bye.